Welcome to the Fantasy NASCAR podcast brought to you by RaceForThePrize.com. Darlington Xfinity Series Saturday afternoon race. You got a Friday evening practice. You got all Friday evening and Saturday morning to go through the stats and the data at the Fantasy NASCAR spreadsheet. You want to go through the lap-by-lap practice data, get an edge. You don't want to search the internet, scour the internet for the statistics, and just go to RaceForThePrize.com. There's information about accessing the sheet. Really, all you have to do is Venmo, PayPal, Cash App money over to me, and that's in the description below or at RaceForThePrize.com. $25 for all the sheets this month. Tons of racing this month. You want to have that data. Makes it easy, saves you time, gives you an edge. You're going to have fun. You get to go through your own process, build your own lineups, enjoy your whole thing. Friday night, have fun with it. Saturday morning, get up early, go through the data, just get the sheets. $10 for the weekend. Let's do it. Would be glad to have you. And if not, like, subscribe, share. Keep on watching these videos. Hope you're having a blast. Try to get a Saturday morning video. I'm going to go quick today talking about Darlington. Not going to go too deep into the weeds because we'll probably get another video coming your way Saturday. First thing that we will touch on before we look at these driver salaries is to look at what happened at Dover. And really just to quickly recap, I'll put the optimal lineup on the screen. It was a pretty green race through stage 1 and 2. Then you get the rain, you got all the cautions, and that really opened the door for some guys to run better than what you expect. But the biggest takeaway from Dover was the drivers that were fast have been fast this season. Now, there were the Gosselin cars that unloaded fast, really fast, qualified really well, so they fell off the DFS scoreboard. But looking forward, let's see if Gosselin can keep up that speed. Overall, you know, the top tier, the mid-pack, everybody did what we pretty much expected. I mean, you never know which driver is going to be the dominator or the hog, and different cycling situations play out. Maybe Truex was disappointing, but ultimately he wins the race. Custer's able to recover from an issue. Allgaier wrecks at the end. So you don't want to look too much at finishing position and not get too deep about the optimal lineup because it did get hairy at the end. Biggest takeaway from Dover is that pretty much there weren't any surprises. The mid-pack did what the mid-pack has been doing, and they benefit from the end from the wrecks. So they finished a little bit better than their average running position, but for the most part, the data was predictive. Now, let's look at Darlington from last year. I think the best way to look at it, first we'll look at the optimal lineup from Dover, or Darlington. So you have John Hunter Nemechek, who pretty much controls most of the race, but then Austin Hill battles him at the end and is kind of taken over and is going to win, but then we get some cautions and Denny Hamlin walks away winner, but Denny Hamlin is not in the optimal lineup. It's Hill, it's Nemechek. Herbst gets in there with 9-place differential, has a solid day. He's affordable. Sheldon Creed, the teammate of Austin Hill, so something to look at maybe moving forward. Could the RCR cars be a little bit more competitive? Typically in the intermediate tracks, Hill's not the guy. Jesse Love's still young. But maybe Darlington, this specific track, could suit the RCR setup, or maybe they've got something where they've got a little bit more additional speed that allows them to creep a little bit further. They are top 5. They are top 3. But we don't really consider Hill technically or typically to be that lap leader, that hog. But he could be this weekend. Also in the optimal lineup, we got Parker Retzlaff, just running well, just really good. Again, was optimal last week at Dover. And then Brennan Poole. And Brennan Poole was in both optimal lineups in these races. Average running position of 28, not the best day, but he just slowly creeps his way forward at 5,100. Benefits from some cautions at the end. Not a terrible day. The cautions are so spread out in this race that everyone is pretty much on the lead lap throughout. So although he didn't have his best day for Alpha Prime, also in this race we got Rajah Caruth running for Alpha Prime. Decent day for Parsons and Dodder. Decent day for Fincham running for Dodder. Any other takeaways? Nothing really super special. Kyle Busch running that colored car that wasn't really that great. Just kind of collecting data sometimes. Ho-hum day for Barry. A typical Cole Custer day. Average running position of 4th, finishing 4th, starting 4th, and just not the guy in control, especially last season. Nemechek would just say, hey, I'm going to be the hog, and Custer would just kind of ride behind him. And we'll put up the laps from that race to give you a better picture of what we see. So Hill was optimal, Nemechek was optimal, Custer sliding in right in that typical spot. Sometimes, like Dover last week, he leads laps and gets out front. Like, oh, this was the week where Custer gets to lead a bunch of laps. And Custer has done that at Dover several times in the past. We were clearly aware of that. And he had to go back to his days with Mike Shiplett when they were winning 7 races a season. But it was a situation where he could lead laps. Barry, decent day. And the Herbst, Creed, Allgaier, I wouldn't overreact. It's just like you had a Demi Hamlin in the field. You had John Hunter Nemechek, who was a monster last year. Allgaier was good, just you never really expected too much from him. Chandler Smith for Colleague. Sam Mayer still climbing. Really no surprises here. Brendan Jones, 14, no surprise. Maybe you're surprised with Parker Retzlaff, but at this point, we shouldn't be surprised anymore with Retzlaff having good days. So there is kind of the lap by lap. And then we'll look at the Darlington spring race. Well, you got Kyle Larson, tons of points, cool, easy, awesome. Justin Allgaier, get you 15 place differential points. Not too hard of a stretch there, running up front. Nemechek, big day, but just doesn't ultimately fit into the optimal lineup. You have Hosever running the 77 Bassett car, and he would go on to finish 8th at Charlotte in the same car. Then he would wreck the car. They would take it to Michigan, and it was pretty much dead at that point. Kaz Grala, Hunt. Corey Heim, Hunt. Big time place differential plays. Don't want to overreact. Oh, does Hunt have the secret recipe? Well, no, his average running position was 20th, but benefits from Darlington being Darlington. Heim, 15 speed. Again, that's about where we get the Heim or the Hunt cars. Finishes 10th. And then rounding out our optimal lineup again was Brendan Poole. Again, running 28th. Moves forward in that backpack at $5,000 mid-pack. Someone we want to keep our eye on. He's been better this year, too. So, hey, Brendan Poole. Also, we had Ty Dillon in an RCR car. We mentioned earlier. Pretty solid day. Not great. Emerlin Gase and Parsons, another solid run for Dodder. Okay, let's look at our pricing for the upcoming race. Go quickly through. Not interested in Fincham, not interested in Cram. Now, if we have to go for whatever reason into these guys because of place differential, expensive drivers, maybe, but I am not really interested. I can maybe explore some Blaine Perkins, but the worry I have with Ryan Sieg cars is if you go back to Dover, and although it's been 2 weeks, Ryan Sieg's car blew up. Blaine Perkins had an electrical issue. Matt DiBenedetto had an issue, or he got into a wreck. He still finishes the race, but suffered damage, had to go on to pit road, and Kyle wrecked as well. All 4 cars had issues for Sieg. Right? Remember, fire, mechanical, wrecks. That hurts. You may remember a couple seasons ago where Alpha Prime was just Tommy Joe Martin's operation before he had the Alpha Prime money coming in. Launched, and then they had the West Coast nightmare. Just everything was breaking, and it maybe took them the whole season to recover. So there could be the chance that C could be really slow and struggling this week because they lost 4 cars. Yikes. So maybe I don't want to go to Blaine Perkins. Right? If they are able to recover and get the resources together, we'll say Blaine Perkins' car is going to be the last one to work on. Let's see where the speed is with Gosselin. If Gosselin can continue to have speed again this week, then I will like Balicki, but technically, I don't really love the second Gosselin car. But if they go out there again and are fast, then 4,900 could be a steal. Again, I don't want to chase any of these guys at the bottom, and I'm not really crazy about it, but if we are presented with the situation where I'm chasing place differential from an expensive driver, then yeah. Ellis had a good run at Dover, so let's see if they can build off that. Leland Honeyman is always this guy that we're kind of bouncing back and forth. He's not quite as cheap as he was. If he qualifies poorly, yeah, I will consider it. Not considering Smithley, but there you go. He got Poole 5,300, been optimal in the last 2. Don't trust Haley Deegan. Yeah, she does have Xfinity or Truck Series experience at Darlington, but man, none of that Truck Series experience has really helped her this season. They're not headed in the right direction. Don't really want to go to the Dodder car, especially if it's more expensive, right? If I can get Brendan Poole cheaper, I take Brendan Poole. I'll take probably Ryan Ellis cheaper, and I'm leaning Gosselin if they can just unload fast again. And really, it's not like I need to go down any lower because I can get Kyle Sieg right here. Now, I do worry about all the cars that they've lost, but Kyle Sieg has been running well and has been optimal in recent lineups. Kyle Weatherman, as I mentioned before, the Gosselin cars had a lot of speed. So at 5,800, really kind of like that. Jeremy Clements, just optimal recently at Dover. Probably 6,000 is too cheap. He can beat all the cars that we just went over. Decent results at Darlington in the past. 6,100 for Matt DiBenedetto. His car wasn't completely ruined. It was a step back, but he thought he had a chance at a top 15 at Dover. And really, he would have had a top 15 the way that thing played out with all the different wrecks. So 6,100 for Matt DiBenedetto, as long as these Sieg cars unload halfway decent, I definitely could get on board with that. I really, I am concerned about these Sieg cars, but a lot of those questions will be answered when they unload in practice. Josh Williams at 6,200 is not terrible for a colored car. 15th place car on a good day. Jeb Burton, 15th place car on a good day. I know this is not the biggest breakdown, but we will break it down on Saturday. They're all guys that I would much rather go to, and I think the optimal build is going to go in this direction rather than really chasing any guys as super punts. A Pool, probably, at least where we stand today, is the cheapest I really want to go to, although I would explore Honeyman, Ellis, and Balicki if the speed's there. But really, this seems like the sweet spot. But then in an even sweeter spot is Anthony Alfredo, who's been running well all season. No reason he should be 6,600. We look at where we get driver rating rank all the way over here, but 19th, which I think could be higher. He's a top 20 car, 15th to 20th, 6,600 is a steal. Parker Retzlaff is a steal. I don't know if I want to go up to 6,800 for Ryan Sieg, but we'll see how he unloads in practice. We'll see how he runs, where he is in qualifying. And ultimately, qualifying will help us separate between this crew. But all things being equal, I like Alfredo and Retzlaff better. And really, it's a close decision between the Auer car and the Anderson car when we're talking about that middle pack. Who's at the best? I can't trust SVG at this track. Parker Kligerman is way too cheap at 7,300. If he can avoid issues, has experience at this place, has been running well, I'll take it. I think Sammy Smith is too cheap. A junior motorsports car for 7,500. He can slot into a lot of lineups. If he can get me around 7 to 8 place differential points, I like it. Same thing can be said for Taylor Gray. This is way too cheap for a JGR car. So right here in the 7 to 6 range, a ton of plays. And since there's a ton of different options and ways to go, I really think there's no reason to go down here, and I might not even need to consider Brendan Poole. But Brendan Poole with one of these guys, and you're pretty much getting to anybody you want. Brandon Jones is Brandon Jones, but his price has gotten down to a point where you will possibly consider him. Carson Kvapil at 8,300, combination with Andrew Overstreet. These guys probably undervalued. I know this is going to be a challenging racetrack, but every time you throw a challenge at Carson Kvapil, he has no problem. He's shown that, he should have won that race. If that last caution doesn't come out, Kvapil wins at Dover. Think about that. This kid is almost a winner. But again, it's not a surprise. As I wear a Josh Berry shirt in front of you, these junior motorsports part-time rides, when they invest in them, which they really do, with very good quality drivers that are motivated and determined, they could clearly win this race, especially if we see the trend of cautions at the end. Jesse Love, probably not as bullish on him. Could have a good day. Riley Herbst at 8,800. It's possible that we consider it. Can be a top 5 driver. Not super excited. Same thing with AJ Allmendinger. Not excited. Can have a good day. Just not a factor. We can play St. Mayer if he gets his place differential. Nemechek has had good runs in the Hunt car in the past, but I don't think this is going to be a car where he's going to go out there and lead a bunch of laps and run a bunch of fast laps. Just not expecting it. Austin Hill, as I mentioned before, this could be a breakthrough weekend for them. They nearly won this race last season. He was good in both races. RCR might have a little something for the rest of the field, but the competition is pretty fierce. We've got Sheldon Creed, who also was pretty solid last year in a JGR car, kind of getting there. never really can trust him. But hey, Eric Almirola and Tyler Allen aren't here to play. They're out here to win races, and they have been very solid. Tyler Allen has been exceptional in his first year crew chiefing for JGR. Definitely going to be a Hulk consideration. Cole Custer, he's there. Justin Allgaier, he is there. We'll have to decide on the weekend who's going to be the guy that leads laps. I'm not as excited about William Byron and Brandon McSwain. Brandon McSwain getting, this his second or third time as a crew chief. They're really giving him a tryout run. Things haven't been that good to start out. Not getting a lot of reps in this situation. But again, Byron is good. So I think there's just a little bit too much to overcome at the moment. And their first race wasn't really that great to jump in, get the setup right. Get the setup right at Darlington is going to be kind of tricky. I mean, I don't doubt that Hendrick has speed, but they're not doing this every single week. Byron's not running Xfinity races that often. McSwain's not setting up very often. They're not running cars every single week. There's a lot of things that are stacked against them that are not necessarily stacked against other all-star part-time rides. This car's out there every week. Tyler Allen's out there every week. Eric Almirola is getting plenty of reps. I clearly would much rather go to Eric Almirola over William Byron. Eric Almirola's got a little bit less on his plate as well. William Byron, probably much more focused on the Cup Series race, especially since they haven't really been getting the finishes that they really need. Allgaier and Custer are always going to be at the top of the equation, but I really think Hill's going to be there this week as well. That's going to wrap it up. Hopefully that was a rapid fire. I know it may not be as deep and as thorough, but I will get a podcast to you later on. I might even do another Xfinity, but I definitely will do one Saturday morning to get you some more information. Thanks for joining me. Like, subscribe, share. Love you guys. Trip to Life, fantastic.